Turn heads and bring the hype with a custom hype chain from Lotwin. Perfect for youth sports, fantasy football, or just flexing your pride. Go to Lotwin.com, use the promo code TCCPOD for 10% off your order. That's Lotwin.com, promo code TCCPOD for 10% off. Get your custom hype chain and get hype with Lotwin. What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for August 21st, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Thursday edition of the podcast, back in the home studio. Feeling good, but I still think everything's a little, so pardon me adjusting. We'll get situated by the end of the week, but good to be back. And man, what a series for the Phillies. Completed the sweep yesterday of the Mariners, 11-2, and this, the way they played in that series, this is what this team is capable of. That is that team. It was a little iffy. I was listening to it on the way back from Penn State yesterday, a little iffy early, lots of runners left on base, but man, they kept putting pressure on the Mariners and finally broke through. They picked up Jesus Luzardo and David Robertson, who gave up the homers and made a little touch and go there in the seventh inning. But 20 hits 2 times in this series. For the series, 29 runs on 48 hits, get the sweep. And the Mariners came in one of the better offensive teams, one of the better power hitting teams. Yes, they strike out a lot, but they have a ton of power in that lineup. They have a good pitching staff. This was just an absolute what this team should be all the time. They're 21 games over 500 now for the first time all season. Luzardo was outstanding, 12 strikeouts. Schwarber set a career high in RBI, now has 45 home runs. 50 should be, I think he's in range to break Ryan Howard's record, team record with 58. It's an outside shot, but I've been saying it all year. This team did not, throughout the entire season, play their best baseball. I feel as though the past few weeks we've seen this starting to bubble, starting to come out. I don't think they're playing there yet, but yesterday, this whole series against the Mariners, that is what they're capable of. That is their best baseball. Now the question becomes, can they sustain it? That we'll have to see. But I mean, every starter in the lineup yesterday had a hit. For the most part, they're patient. They're seeing pitches. Trey had a 5-hit game, used his speed, stole 2 bases. They're playing and doing the little things right. The small ball. They're hustling. They're taking the extra base. They're forcing throws that in a lot of cases yesterday led to overthrows with move runners and scored runs. They're seeing pitches. They're working walks. They had bat by Bryson Stott yesterday when he went down 0-2, forced it to 3-2, fouled off a couple, and then dropped in a base hit. That's what those guys at the bottom of the lineup need to do to allow your stars like Trey, Kyle, Bryce to do what they do. They're coming up with clutch hits like JT the other night, and I'm starting to come around. I'm starting to believe. There are 35 games left in this season. It's an absolute sprint at this point. But we saw what the Brewers have kind of fallen off after going on that winning streak. If the Phillies can kind of pick it up and head into the postseason on a tear like this, I believe. I think they certainly have a shot if they play like they did against the Mariners in this Mariners series. It was just absolute what we've been asking for, what we expect. Now, I'm not going to overlook the fact that we've seen stretches like this the past few years and how it's worked out. Be naive of me to even go that way. But something about this feels different, especially with the news of Zach Wheeler. Maybe they're rallying around. Maybe they're all, as we said on Tuesday, looking in the mirror and saying, what can I do just a little bit better to help this team? They're all buying in. Hell, even Max Kepler is playing well. And can we take a minute to give Rob Thompson some props. A few weeks ago, we were like, Max Kepler should be DFA'd. This is what the starting outfield should be. And to that point, we'll even throw in Dave Dombrowski, too. We all wanted Justin Crawford, including me. But they stay with their plan, and whatever buttons Rob is pushing right now, they're working. The team is buying into it. So let's give Rob Thompson and Dave Dombrowski a little bit of love for not listening to us fans and just kind of seeing it through, trusting the process, so to speak. Again, we all know that in an instant this can turn. But like I said, this feels, I'm not sure why, but like I had in my gut just the way, and all of a sudden, I think the difference between earlier in the season and now too, it actually looks like they're having fun. I said that all through the summer, that it didn't look like this team was having fun. They look like they're having fun now. And if you want to have some fun and get down into make a long run, this is the time to start doing it. So I'm in. What do you think? That's today's question of the day. Do you believe in this team now? I saw everything I needed to see, and I'm ready to throw it out there, get my heart broken if need be, but I am all in on this team. Do you believe in the Phillies? Are you going all in? Are you putting yourself out there? Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531. Hit me up on any of my social media accounts, Jimbo_Mott on Twitter and TikTok, on Instagram at Philly Jimbo. Hit me up on Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. But are you in on this Phillies team? I'm going in. I'm ready to get my heart broken if need be, but man, was that a fun weekend. I mean, Jose Alvarado came back. He had a nice little ovation from the fans. Again, I know a lot of people are still like, holding on to those grudges, but we started the year off this way, and I'm going to continue to do it. Forgive him. Move on. We need him to help us get to the postseason. I like that Thompson didn't put him in high leverage situations. He had Strom warming up, and then when the Phillies bats exploded, they were able to put him in. That's what you need to use him for. Again, let's forgive. I'm not going to forget it. No, I'm not going to forget it, but we're going to forgive. But this is the Phillies team that can win the World Series, especially if they're going to be playing the way they have. Now, are they going to get 20 hits every night? No. But the knock on this team always has been, for the past few years, when they see good pitchers, they kind of go back into their old ways and everybody slumps together. Mariners have a solid pitching staff. They're only a game and a half, 2 games, something. They're right there with the Astros in the AL West. They're a good team. And the Phillies, for the most part, practically just pulled an Eagles on them and went belt to ass on the Mariners. So they did it against good pitching, and that is huge. And it seems like they're all bought in to whatever Rob Thompson is selling, whatever the veteran leaderships are selling. Let's go. I'm all in, but let me know your thoughts. Are you willing to go and go all in on this team? And with the risk now, we are Philly fans, of getting your heart broken. I am. Why not? This is fun. This is absolute fun. They're off tonight. 3-game series down in or at home against the Nationals, and then a big series early next week against the Mets, who lost to the Nationals yesterday. So the Phillies have a 6.5 game lead. They could almost end the NL East next week if this weekend goes well. So huge weekend coming up for the Phils. But today's question of the day, do you believe in this team? Are you ready to go all in? I am. Come join me. There's a seat right next to me here on the bandwagon. All right, let's go to the Eagles. Training camp ended yesterday, and by all accounts, it seemed as though, obviously, injuries are a big concern right now. But Jalen had his best practice, saved his best for last, I guess, maybe as a way to silence the doubter. But he was slinging the ball all over the field yesterday. Good to see that. They did sign Chance Campbell, who has had an injury for linebacker. Injury kind of riddled career so far up until this point, but he does have experience and work with Bobby King, linebackers coach for the Eagles when he was with the Titans in 2022. This is a good, solid depth move. And again, this is Howie Roseman, and we've seen him do this in 17. We've seen him do this last year. One of those under the radar, kind of low risk, high reward moves. More of a depth move, but this helps in case like Jihad Campbell or Jeremiah Trotter Jr. struggle somewhat. You have a guy that has experience, especially in the system with Bobby King. So I like it, but they're all getting ready for Friday night's game, final preseason game against the Jets. And then yesterday's question of the day, I asked you, what is your biggest concern heading into this last preseason game? 75% of you said it was the secondary. I agree. It does look like Ja'Cory Bennett is starting to emerge as the guy to be the number 2 corner. So I'll definitely be looking at that on Friday night. But everybody else was kind of spread across the board. But second place in there, and I get this, it's the injuries. Without knowing what Drew Makuba's injury is like with the hamstring, didn't get any updates on Johnny Wilson. But it's almost time, guys. We're almost there. We can see it. We're close. It's almost football season. And speaking of that, the pregame show, hopefully we'll work on some things tonight after work. Got a couple easier night, so to speak. So hopefully be ready to release. If I can't give you some more of the details tomorrow, hopefully early next week, I'll be able to get that. But stay tuned for that as we gear up for Eagle season. All right, yesterday's trivia question. I asked you, the Phillies ended the modern Major League Baseball losing streak yesterday at 23 games. That also is the National League record. But I asked, who has the record for the longest losing streak in the American League? And that was last year's White Sox team and the 1988 Orioles, both of whom lost 21 games in a row. That Orioles team lost 21 straight to start the season. So rough start for the Orioles. But thank you to everybody who reached out for that. I gave you my social media before. Be sure to follow me. All that other good stuff. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Spread the word. If you're a new listener, welcome. I am pumped. It's a good time right now to be a Philly fan. And let's just embrace it. We don't get too many times like this, so let's just enjoy it. I know the summer, the weather is starting to get nice. Summer's winding down. Fall is almost here, but let's just embrace it. It's a 35-game sprint for the Phils. Let's do this. This day in Philly sports history is proud to be a part of the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network, a growing community of diehard fans turning their sports passion into something special. Whether you're looking for unique shows, want to launch your own podcast but don't have the time, or need production services, the ClashingConferences.com has everything you need. Explore fan-driven content, become a member, or tap into their media services to level up your brand. That's ClashingConferences.com, where fans' voices get heard. All right, today is Thursday. That means it's Throwback Thursday, brought to you by Beach Caddy. Not a good shore weekend this weekend. However, there is still time if you're going down to the shore to hit up Beach Caddy. They got you covered for your move-in, move-out service, as well as your beach cart rentals. Go to beachcaddy.app. Use the promo code Jimbo for 15% off of your move-in, move-out, and your beach cart rentals. All right, so Monday was Mike Lieberthal Day. He had himself a day on 2 separate occasions, hitting a grand slam, setting the Phillies record for most games as caught as a catcher in team history. So for Throwbacks Thursday, let's throw it back and take a look at Mike's career. He was drafted number 3 overall in 1990 out of high school, kind of a smallish build. Worked his way up through the Phillies farm system, made his major league debut in 1994, was able to learn from Darren Daulton. When it was all said and done, though, he spent 13 years in Philly, hit .275 with 150 homers for the Phillies, 2-time All-Star, Gold Glove winner. But his biggest season was 1999, where he was an All-Star the year he won the Gold Glove, hit .300 with 31 homers and 96 RBI. Probably the best offensive season, or best overall season for a catcher in Phillies history. He was never really a power guy, so for him to hit 31 homers was good. But he was a solid defensive player. I think that was probably more of the underrated part of Lieberthal's game. And I think he had the unfortunate honor, I guess you could call it, of following Darren Daulton, who was a Phillies legend, All-Star, helped lead them to the World Series. But he had a good arm, just a solid defensive catcher. but injuries started to mount up later in his career. He did come back and win the Comeback Player of the Year in 2002. But as he was getting older, the Phillies were going with the youth movement with Rollins, Utley, Howard. They had some guy named Carlos Ruiz down there, and they did allow him to leave in free agency. His last season was 1996, where it was almost like a four-man platoon for catchers. I think part of that was injuries. Part of that was just trying to get some of those young guys. And if you remember, 2006 was when Pat Gillick kind of came in, so it was a changing of the guard as well. And he was just looking to see what these young guys could do. He did go to LA for a year before retiring. Came back, retired as a Philly, which was a cool moment. He is in the Phillies Wall of Fame. Unfortunately for Mike, never made the playoffs. And he was in a couple of wild card races throughout his career, but could never get over. He was sandwiched between the 93 Phillies and the 07 through 2011 Phillies. So never made the playoffs, but just a consummate professional and may be the best player in Phillies history not to make the postseason. And I know, and this, you could go back into the pre-1950 days and see, but from a standpoint of my lifetime, probably the best player to play for the Phillies that did not make the postseason. If I'm missing anybody, hit me up, let me know. But I'd be willing to go out on that limb and say Mike Lieberthal, the best Philly to never play in a postseason game. Was he underrated, underappreciated? So let me know your thoughts. It's Mike Lieberthal week here on the podcast. But that is Throwback Thursday, brought to you by Beach Caddy. Mike Lieberthal, one of the better Phillies of all time. I'm not going to go so far as call him an all-time great, but certainly in the conversation for top 5 catchers in Phillies history. But give me your favorite Mike Lieberthal memory. Let's go down Mike Lieberthal memory lane today. But is he the most underrated Philly or is he an underrated Philly, first of all? And then is he the best Philly to not make the postseason? I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to find somebody that didn't at least make it there once with the team. All right. Let's continue our top 5 of the first 25 years of the century. Matt from Fort Washington, if you're out there, cover your ears because we're going to look at the top 5 Sixers teams since 2000. And much like the top moments in Sixers history, all of these teams sort of run together. It's like you have the outlier and then you have 3 distinct eras that sort of just run together. So I tried my best here. So willing to listen and hear your thoughts on the top Sixers teams since 2000. Honorable mentions, the 2002-2003 team. That was Larry Brown's last year. They had a solid team, made a run, but just could not get it done. And then Larry Brown bolted for Detroit, ended up winning a championship. The 17-18 team was fun. That was the first year they made the playoffs post-process. And that team, if you go back and find, they went on a nice little run. And that was a fun time to watching Sixers games. Was actually fun during this time. And then the 2011-2012 year, I had to put it in there because they did make it to the second round of the playoffs. Fortunate, unfortunate, whatever you want to say, due to Derrick Rose's injury, they pulled off the upset in the first round. But those are our honorable mentions. So let's start with the list here. And actually, the 02-03 team shouldn't have been an honorable mention because they are number 5 on our list. Didn't double proofread my notes here. But the 2002-2003 team, number 5 on the list, they had Keith Van Horn. They had some talent. They had a solid year. They just could not get over the hump. And it was Allen Iverson's last good run with the Sixers. It all started to kind of go downhill from there. But the 02-03 team is the number 5 team on our list. Coming in at number 4, the 2020-21 team. That was the year they had the number 1 seed. And everything was kind of breaking their way. They had the Hawks. And all of a sudden, we know what happened. Ben Simmons went into witness protection, forgot how to have a dunk or a layup, and to this day, still one of my more frustrating losses in Sixers history. But that is the number 4 team. Number 3, the 22-23 team. That was Joe's MVP season. They had James Harden, unfortunately got derailed by injuries. Had the Celtics on the ropes, should have won. They had a 3-2 lead in that and just could not close it. Almost equally as frustrating, but that 22-23 team is number 3 on the list. Coming in at number 2, the 2018-19 team. That was the Jimmy Butler year, where I still think Toronto went on a run after Kawhi's shot. I think the Sixers could have, and that just sort of set the tone for the preceding years then, was Kawhi's 5-bounce or 4-bounce shot. But that is the number 2 team in Sixers history since 2000. And number 1 comes as no surprise. One of the best Sixers teams that I've seen in my lifetime, and that was the 2000-2001. Went on the magical run to the finals, winning Game 1, stunning the Lakers. The Tyronn Lue step over. AI won the MVP. Dikembe Mutombo. But that is the number 1 team in Sixers history. Now it's your turn. Who's too high? Who's too low? Who did I forget? And again, it's frustrating with the Sixers because you guys all know how I feel about the Sixers. If I had my choice, and I know this is going to be a controversial take, but if I had my choice of the next team to win a title, I've seen a World Series, I've seen a Super Bowl, I would love to see an NBA championship. Just doesn't look like it's in the cards for me. But let me know your thoughts on the top teams in Sixers history since 2000. And then finally today, August 21st, we're going to do a little John Kruk montage today. And let's first go back to 1990. Trailing 11-1 after 7 innings, Phillies scored twice in the 8th and then put up a 9 spot in the top of the 9th to beat the Dodgers 12-11. John Kruk hit a pinch hit 3-run homer in the 9th, and then Carmelo Martinez doubled in the winning run in the 9th. And I remember actually watching this game for some reason. Excuse me. Not sure why, but I've heard John Kruk talk about this where he was pretty much in the locker room. He wasn't playing, so he had to be called out, had to quickly get dressed, I believe he said, came out and was just like, all right, whatever. He was just trying to go back, and he was worried about the hotel restaurant being closed and not being able to get something to eat. Comes in, hits the 3-run homer, and helps the Phillies win in L.A. And then 1 year later, the Phillies beat the Pirates 6-5 when Wally Backman singled in Brulio Castillo. Remember that dude? There's a name. It was a walk-off win against the Pirates. John Kruk went 1 for 2 with an RBI, 2 intentional walks, and was hit by a pitch. Now, this is the first time in his career, 2,600 some at-bats, that he had been hit by a pitch. He was always able to get out of the way. He was only hit by a pitch twice in his career, and then you compare that to Chase Utley, who just seemed to constantly want to get hit by pitches. But on this day, Phillies walk it off against the Pirates. John Kruk hit by a pitch for the first time in his career. And that does lead to today's trivia question. A little bit of John Kruk love today, who was outstanding on the broadcast during the Mariners series, by the way. But how many career home runs does John Kruk have? Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line, the Discord channel, all of my social media. But how many career home runs does John Kruk have? We know famously he retired after getting a single so he could have a 300 career batting average. But how many home runs did John Kruk hit in his career? And then don't forget to go check out Philly Goat. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. They have you covered. All kinds of great shirts. Get geared up for a Red October because Philadelphia, it's happening. And go to Philly Goat. They have you covered with all their Phillies gear. And don't forget to use that promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave a review if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Comment. All of those things help with the algorithm. So any way you can interact with me, let's do it. Social media, like, all of that good stuff. But let's continue to grow this thing as we head into football season. On this day in 91, Phillies walk off the Pirates when Wally Backman knocked in Brulio Castillo for the win. John Kruk, first time in his career, was hit by a pitch. 1 year earlier, he was the hero as he hit a 3-run, 9th-inning homer in L.A., despite the fact that he was starving and looking to make sure he could hit the hotel restaurant after the game. Let me know your thoughts as well on the Sixers. It's tough because it's been a tough 25-year stretch for the Sixers, especially after starting off so strong with the finals run. Is this the year? We'll find out Mike Lieberthal, most underrated player in Phillies history, possibly. I think you can make the argument. And is he the best player to not make the postseason? Let's have some fun with Mike. We'll have more on the Eagles. We'll start previewing the weekend series against the Nationals tomorrow. And of course, it's Friday, so we'll spend Fridays with AI tomorrow. But let me know, because I'm all in. Are you ready to get your heart broken? I am. I'm all in on this team. I liked what I saw. Are you still cautiously optimistic? There's only 35 games left. I know a lot of people were like, wake me up in October. October will be here before you know it. Let's go. Jump on the bandwagon with me. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for August 21st, 2025. My name's Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Thursday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.